Welcome to Master It Monday. I am your host, Maggie Carey. Oh, today do we have some exciting news to share? We're going to have a special guest who's going to talk about that dreaded social media content, coming up with ideas for your social media. Remember, a Master It Monday, we're here to help you get the most out of your social media by sharing some tips, some advice, and every once in a while, I have the opportunity to share with you an amazing guest. So today's guest is productivity coach Theresa Cifali. Cifali. Theresa, I can't say it. I needed to talk a lot clearer. Theresa Cifali. She believes that when what you do truly matters in your business, you win every day. Now, Theresa is not only the CEO and founder of Daily Achievers, where she helps service-based solopreneurs focus on the right work so that they have time to spend on their business and it gets easier. Theresa also does private coaching. She has group programs, which, by the way, are phenomenal, and I can personally attest to that. And she also provides digital products. And if that's not enough, she is also the co-host of the Messy Desk podcast, where she and Meghan Monaghan discuss everything marketing productivity. You can find her anywhere on wherever podcasts are sold. So without further ado, let us bring on the amazing Theresa Cifali. Hello.
Ta-da! Here I
Ta-da.
am.
Sorry I butchered your name, but I
Oh, that's okay.
I needed to do that, da 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 ma 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 that we
Here
all
you go.
learned in vocals.
Maggie and I have singing in common, so there should be plenty of vocal exercises, and of course, remembering to breathe.
Yes, of course. So, Theresa, I am so excited. I have wanted to have you on Master It Monday for a year, since it's been over a year since I've been doing this, because you have such great insight. And anytime you present, whether it's about time management or today's topic, which is social media content ideas and how to organize them and how to manage them, you always give people actionable items, something that they can really tactics that they can apply. So I'm very excited about today. And if we have our friends visiting us today, please make sure that you pop in a comment below, tell us who you are. And of course, we have Theresa will be answering questions throughout the presentation. So Theresa, talk to our listeners.
Hello, everybody. I'm super happy to be here. I just would do anything for Maggie. And so when we were trying to come up with a topic idea that fit my niche and Maggie's niche, social media content organization and idea creation kind of like popped into my mind. We all struggle with that. We either have one or two problems. We either have really great ideas, we have tons of them that we leave in our head because we think we're going to remember them, but we don't. Or we have the post-it note strategy, which is little ideas of post-its all over the place. Or we haven't given ourselves time to really sit down and think about what it is that we're doing, what we want to do, what we want to talk about, so that we don't end up with problem number 2, which is we sit down to create a social media post and we don't even know what to say. Even if you found sometimes a really great image and you have no idea what you want to talk about, but you want to share that image somewhere on your social media. So,
Yeah, it does. It's the
yeah.
biggest challenge that I hear from my clients and from our followers. I I get these ideas. You know what it's like. You're driving in your car, and
Mhm.
all of a sudden, right, the 2 a.m. revelation, right? Oh, that would make a great social media post, and then you fall asleep. Where you're driving, and what do, right? So we wanted to talk today about ways you can get this organization. Theresa had made some really great points when we were talking, and she said, there's two problems when it comes to your social media content ideas, right? Like, and what are the two?
So the first problem is that you have a plethora of ideas, but they're all over the place, right? They're on little post-it notes. Maybe they're in a voice note on your phone or in the notes app on your phone. They're in a notebook. They're on a scrap piece of paper, guilty of this one, on the back of like a bill or a receipt, right? Um, I,
No.
I don't know if any of you keep little notebooks. Like I'm very much a digital girl, but I'm tactile and I have to write. So I
Yeah.
always have like a little notebook. Or I don't write it down at all. I have this really great idea of what it is that I want to do and talk about, especially if it's like an Instagram carousel post. Instagram's like a micro blog. So you've got like what, 2,200 characters. You can write quite a bit. You get these ideas for your thoughts. And then when you go to sit down and do it, you forget all about it. So those are the two problems: plethora of ideas, or you have absolutely no idea at all. Like you're not spending time thinking about what you want to post. You're not thinking about the what you want to be known for and what you want to talk about, and you end up kind of being all over the place. So yeah, I think those are the two main problems.
Now, if you're feeling this pain along with us, make sure you let us know. We've got Linda and Trevor here popping in and saying it's so overwhelming to pick a topic. We Google FAQs to get ideas of what questions people are searching for, which is great, Linda. That is really, really cool. You go onto Google and you just start to type and then let Google finish it and you can see what's trending. Um, but how talking about picking a topic, any kind of insight on that, Teresa?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when you want to be known for everything, then you become known for nothing. So there are certain kind of categories that I stick to. So even social media, like I'm not a social media manager. I don't sell social media services. I leave all the social media brilliance to Maggie. And
I
my
concur.
so like my job is to talk about productivity and time management and organization and outsourcing and hiring and goal setting and achievement. And I only stick to those topics. So under the main topics, there are tons of subtopics you can talk about. So what you want to do is you want to think about what you want to be known for. And then you basically want to only talk about those things, right? So even though I'm on Maggie's show and we're talking about social media, what we're really talking about is organization and kind of like gathering your ideas, planning, and so it fits into the categories that I talk about.
Right. And Linda and Trevor are agreeing with you here, niche, right?
Niche,
Like it's
niche.
it's finding that niche. I mean, that's what happened with Master at Media when I started, even though I can do other stuff. Look, 35 years in IT, believe me, I've forgotten more than I'd like to remember. But there is, the world of technology is huge. Even the world of social media, like we do social media management, and we have our social media coaching teleprompter, right? We do those two things. We do them specifically to social media management and putting your stuff on social, not doing things like Facebook and Instagram ads, and because now you're talking about a whole nother thing. So, and I am of course drifting off topic. So, social media, social media content ideas.
So
What do
so
you suggest
so
we
when
put
you're
it
trying
together?
to get like ideas, first of all, if you have if you're kind of like me and you maybe have multiple notebooks. So I still use the notebook because I write it down when I think about
No,
it. I
don't
do.
know.
I do use the notebook, because I
I'm not judging.
yes, you are. I see, I can feel you over there judging there, Mrs. Carey. Okay, so I do because during the day I'm often um, writing down whatever occurs to me on my mind so it doesn't interrupt me from what I need to focus on. So to then stop and go to a digital platform, which I'm going to share that in a little bit. But when you're getting ideas, you really do want to spend time, first of all, if you're a notebook person and a post-it person, gathering all the places where you have little ideas, quotes, maybe just a word that you thought about that you want to make a graphic for, an image. You want to gather all of those ideas together before you sit down. And then what you want to do is you want to spend some time thinking. And Maggie knows that she's going to nod her head and smile in a minute, because the one thing that we don't do enough as solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, whatever kind of preneur you are, is we don't spend enough time thinking about what we want, thinking about what we're doing. Some people might call it brainstorming, but you really want to start by thinking about the first question I had mentioned to you. What is it that you want to be known for? And then start jotting down those ideas,
Mm.
right? You've gathered the things that you already have. Maybe you're going to put them into different categories and you're going to line them up. This would go under planning and goal setting. This would go underneath productivity. This would go underneath whatever. And then you also, when you're looking for content ideas, some really great places is to do what Linda and Trevor mentioned, which is to just go up, do a little competition scan, check out who your competition is, see if they have FAQs on their page, check out their social media. What are their customers asking that you can answer and create content around? Another good thing to do is go and look at other social accounts, and not to steal, for inspiration. What are the things that
Right.
people are engaging with? How can you do it different? How can you do it better? And so those are just a couple of ideas of where you can get content going. So when I'm sitting and working, I use the notebook strategy. So sometimes just that random thought pops into your head, right? And I'll jot it down in my little notebook, and then I can let it go and refocus my attention, because I'm easily distractible. Um, and another thing that you can do if you're out, I use voice notes all the time. So you can also text yourself if that's helpful. And then I take that content, and it's what I do with the ideas after I have them. I think that's the most beneficial.
Mm. And you know what? All of these things, and one of the things that I recommend to my users over and over again, and my followers, is get an FAQ notebook. Leave it at, if you have a brick and mortar and you have a cash register, you have phone bays and people are sitting at the phone. If you want to use, a notebook, I am not judging, seriously, because look, I have my little post-its, which are dangerous. Post-its are dangerous
They are.
because we write them down and then we lose them. But if you had a notebook and wrote all these ideas down, like great. Like I like tech, but I'm also comfortable with tech. But I also know, like, if I had to open up something, I may, where am I? Are there other notes in there that are going to do the same thing? Like you said, it will distract me,
Yeah.
and then I'm off on another tangent, like I
And
am talking right now, because
right.
my main topic was the FAQ, which is when you get those great questions, right? People ask you questions all the time. Are you writing them down somewhere? They are giving you your social media content, because if one person is asking you a question, guaranteed there's others that are wondering the same thing and may not even know. You know that great phrase, how do I know what I don't know?
Mm,
Right? So somebody might not even know the question. Like they may not even know to ask that question. So having this repository, which I love that word. You mentioned that the other day. A repository of our social media content ideas can
right.
help, and then cross it out when you're done. But the other thing that's great to do with this repository that you're creating, especially if it's electronic or it's in your notebook, wherever it is, if you're doing it, if it's date sensitive or if it's time sensitive, like, look, June 30th is social media day, right?
Right.
So I got to make sure every June 30th, I'm doing something amazing on my social media because that's my thing, right?
Right.
This weekend was Professional Speakers Day or something like that, right? Another great day you don't want to miss if you're a presenter. Um, I- are there? You had mentioned you have a tech tool that you use, right?
So sure. Well, let's unpack that a little bit, and then we'll talk
Okay,
about like how I deal with a repository, and we'll explain what that is for people that may not be sure. So having your ideas is important. Having them in a place that where they're all together and you can access them is absolutely super important. Why? Because it is at your fingertips, at your beck and call content. So when you're sitting down and like you're feeling a little depleted or uninspired, you don't have to worry about what you're going to post about because you have a a whole repository, meaning it's a holding place of all the ideas that you have, and it's an organized place. So there are a few ways that you can create a repository of content, but before we do that, before I talk about that, I want to just tack on one more thing, Maggie, if it's okay, about when you're
absolutely.
gathering your ideas, whether it's on a post-it or, you don't want these things to get out of control. So I'm a big person, a big person, listen to me. I'm a
I
big
I I
fan.
didn't say
I
anything
didn't say it.
because I've done that as well.
I
You
understand.
are a
So
big-hearted
my
person.
no, my brain works way faster than my mouth, as you are discovering. So it's important to not let things pile up. And I'm a huge fan of time blocking and planning. So I have certain times of the week where where I have planned to do certain things, whether it's a marketing block or a content block or an admin block. Now, we're not here to talk about time blocking, but the point that I want to make is if you don't plan, if you don't make time to plan, then what ends up happening is things get out of control. So when it comes to your social media content, after you've spent time thinking, um, immediately kind of like gathering your ideas and writing them down. You also want to, as you're having those random thoughts and ideas, whether again, it's a voice note on your phone or you've texted yourself or it's written down in a notebook or on a post it, you want to make sure that you're scheduling some time once a week, once every other week. When you have a lot of content, you don't need to do it as often, to actually take all of those little places where you have content and um, sit down and put them into a repository. So, and that repository can be, I never suggest having it in a notebook in this case. It's easier to scan and to search for things that are in a computer. So, so what I like to do for a repository is there's several ways you can do it. You can use an Excel spreadsheet. I'm a Mac, so I use numbers when I was using that. You can also use a tool like Trello or Asana. So if you're familiar with that, basically what I would do is I would have like maybe different categories at the top, like humor, engagement, questions. I might have quotes, and you can even get more specific than that. And then underneath, those would be my lists, whether it's on a spreadsheet or in Trello or Asana. And then you can basically go underneath each of those lists and then plug in the quote or the idea. So it's a really great place just to not just to have quotes, but also to capture your ideas, maybe as much as something that you think you want to say about it or the imagery that you want to use to create the post. So once you've gathered your ideas and you then plug them into either Trello or in that spreadsheet, you'll have basically a whole document of on demand content that is organized and ready to go. And then you use it, you take it out, and then as you have new things, you go and you plug it in each list. So in the beginning, it's a little bit of work if you're gathering your content ideas for the first time. But once you've set it up, it's a few minutes
And
to
it's a
update it.
habit thing to make to kind of get used to it, but I agree with you, that even though we're not talking about time management, you have to allocate thinking time, and I always underestimate my thinking time. And sometimes it, the the muse doesn't hit you. The inspiration doesn't hit you in that time you've blocked.
Block, right.
So you need to kind of just don't drive yourself nuts, right? Like just move something else in its place and move the time block for creativity on another day. So, would you say there's specific, like, what would you say, like, if somebody were to say, okay, Teresa, I need to get my stuff together. I agree with what you're saying. What's, give me step one, two, three. What are the first, like, first step we should do this, second step we should do that?
Okay. So you're absolutely right. First of all, you never know when the muse is going to hit you, and you can't force yourself to think in a time block. You can organize in a time block, which is what I want you to use your time blocks for. Your thinking time, like I do my best thinking at all different times of day, sometimes very early in the morning, sometimes at night. So step one is to always start with um, thinking, thinking about what you want to be known for, what categories of topics you want to speak about, and stick to those things. So, thinking is always number one, spending time thinking. The second thing that you want to do is, and this is without writing, just thinking, right? We don't want to do anything or force anything. Step two is to walk away and not think about it for a little while. Your brain will always be working in the background on whatever problem it is that you're trying to solve. So one is think, two is to walk away. Step three is to come back and then do an actual brain dump where you're going to sit with a notebook, or if you prefer to type, you can type it out on your computer, and you're just going to write down all the ideas that come to mind, right? The categories that you want to, the things that you want to be known for. What are those categories? Maybe some subcategories, and like, what are some things that you're going to talk about? Like, what are some ideas for content, right? Um, and then once you've done that brain dump of your initial things, you want to kind of bulk up that list a little bit. And you're going to start by going through any notebooks, any phone notes, of if you know that you have already been hoarding content ideas, but they're all over the place, you want to spend some time gathering those things so they're all together. So gather content you already have, your ideas you already have. And then what you want to do is from that point, you're going to start building out your repository in a digital format, either in a tool like Asana or Trello, or in a spreadsheet. You can use Excel, you can use Numbers, you can use Google Sheets if that's easier for you. Actually recommend Google Sheets if you're sharing this with a team member because it's just easy to get at. And so you're going to build out your repository electronically. And then if you still need more content ideas, step six, which would happen in another day, right? You got to take a break. You can't do this all at once, is to then start doing some research on the topic ideas and categories that you have. So for example, if in underneath my time management and organization category, if I had written down, for example, how to how to um, get more hours back in my day, I can go and research just that one idea online and see what else comes up, and then get a lot more ideas from there. And then as I'm looking online and researching, I'm then putting those things directly in my repository. So those first few steps, you don't have to actually repeat over and over again. You revisit them from time to time so that if anything changes, you can adjust. But I would say that that would be the best. Those would be I think, the first six steps.
Yeah. And we're just going to repeat, it was thinking, walk away, let your brain work in the background, do a brain dump, gather your content, build out your repository electronically, which I love because you can always take an idea and maybe, maybe you think of something too that it is for another season or another time or whatever, so you can just move it, right?
Right.
Depending on what you're using. Research on topics. Look, I keep telling my kids, you have no idea. We didn't have Google. I had I had, you know, an encyclopedia
We
in
did
the
too.
in the 70s that the men still hadn't landed on the moon yet because it was so old, And I keep saying, look, you use what you have, but the other thing is like you have the Messy Desk podcast, right? Which
Right.
is amazing. I listen to that every week. I love it because it's a short, 15-minute blip. I do it when I'm on my way driving somewhere. It's very interesting. And while I'm listening, sometimes I get ideas for my own social. If
Mhm.
look at your industry and start listening to these podcasts. But I love that one little um piece of advice that you had that send a text message to yourself,
Oh, yeah.
right? Because you're driving. What am I supposed to do? Pull over? Like I do get these. I listen to podcasts and I'm like,
I
oh, that's a great
have
idea.
I have done that, but no, I mean, I can just text myself right in the car
Mhm.
and, when I'm driving. When I'm not driving, it's not a big deal, right?
Yeah.
But I think the most important thing is that you have the important points here is that one, you have content always at your fingertips. And then two, you're never losing ideas because when you're keeping your content organized and accessible, even if, there are things that I've written and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to save this because I'm going to do this. This would fit in great for a launch. When you haven't made the invisible things that are in your head floating around visible by getting them into some type of written format, it makes it really difficult to use them strategically and systematically. So that's why I really enjoy having the content repository. Plus, I'm never lost for ideas.
And here's the other thing, and I'm not going to say it's because I'm getting older. Okay. We're not going to say that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
However, I was having this conversation with my sister the other night, and she's 10 years older than me. I'm like, look, you've got a 10-year head start on me, and I'm forgetting stuff. And she's like, "Well, you're so busy." I'm like, "And you're so kind." But yes, I think we too we get wrapped up in, and then we're going on to the next thing, and you could have a phenomenal idea that you just forgot about because of everything else that's going on. And look, you focus on solopreneurs. I help small to medium sized businesses. We've got a lot on our plates, and
Yep.
there's a lot changing, and there's a lot moving, and we got to keep up with it. You can't remember stuff. You can't put that pressure on yourself too, and then you're trying to think about it, and what was it, and what did I do, and what was that idea I had? It was so great. And now you're wasting even more time.
Right.
I
That's especially
love,
true with the notebook strategy, right?
yeah,
Oh, where was that? And I that's been me in the past. That's why I say don't let your content back up. So even though I'm
yeah,
writing those ideas down as I have them, because it'll continue to nag at me until I get it out of my head.
right.
Um,
And if
I
you're,
I will then take that. I know where it is, and I'll add it to my repository. 2
yeah,
seconds.
and if for those of you who are really notebook fans, right, consider, there's Rocketbook. There's another one I can't remember the name of it. There's
Oh, I
another one
do
that's
one. I can't remember what it is either.
It's a
Um,
play on words too, I can't remember what it was. But anyway, there are tools that will then take your information and transfer it to, an electronic format and, convert it, do OCR, convert it optical character recognition, convert it to text, which is great. Good luck trying to decipher my handwriting. But those are a few things. And Teresa, we've talked about this, and Teresa knows and she's actually been giving me some advice on how to help with teleprompter, which is our email coaching program. And this whole concept came from listeners who follow us, our Master It Mondays and our Friday videos that we drop, and say, how do I come up with content? Well, I create an email where it sends you an idea, it sends you a prompt, and it gets people thinking. Now, is it gonna take your whole week's worth of content? Sure, it can, because we provide, like, 7 different things for you to think about. But, you need to be specific about your industry, and I think that's one of the things. You want to establish yourself as on your social as an expert in your field. Why should somebody come to you? And your social is a great way. Let me tell you something. We were doing it all during COVID and everything else we were dealing with. I was going to people's websites, and you know what? Their websites weren't updated. Their
Mm,
social media was,
right.
right? Because people are using their social now as their prime. The website is just this is a digital business card. It's static information, which I also don't recommend, but that's what people are using. That's what they can afford. That's what they don't modify their own websites, whatever the reason is. But your social is free and it's at your fingertips. Um, and if you want to be, we're talking about planned content, right? But there's also that in the moment content. Do you have any tips on that in the moment content? Like, because you
In
still got to be organized with that, right?
You do. It's when you're planning content that's like right in the moment, I'm assuming you're talking about things that are like more timely or just I'm not
Right.
talking
Like,
about ideas
or
that just pop into your head,
right,
go into the repository,
right,
right? If it's something that I'm not going to post about right now, if it's something that I'm going to post about right now, then that might simply be going into like my daily journal. Like, and I've done that. So like I have my weekly planner, my weekly planner pages. And if I think of something right at the moment and I know I want to post it, today's Monday, say, I don't want to post it today, but I know I want to post it tomorrow on Tuesday, I'll make a note of that, like right on my planner pages, so that because I look at that the night before and then I look at it again the next morning and I'm reminded that, okay, now I've not forgotten it. Now it's not on a little slip of paper that can get lost underneath something. Um, if you use a digital calendar to organize your content, you can also add the notation like right to that right into your calendar with what the topic is, even copy that you wanted to say or your ideas for copy. You just want to capture it immediately in a place that you look that's not it where it won't get lost. I guess that's what I want to say.
right. And what I guess what I was asking was, when you create, like a lot of us use stories and we're
Mhm.
using content that maybe we're going live with. I mean, those are things that you may want to record depending on how your schedule's built. Like, we have a social media calendar that goes by date, and the I put in everything that we've posted there, because here's the thing, I may want to use that again August 9th in 2021 or 2022. We're in 2021 now. Thank you, COVID, for messing up my years. But that, I think, is another thing. Like, you may want to look at something and say, okay, we talked about this time of year because it's pertinent. Like, if vacation or summertime has something that pertains to your business, you can take that idea and then use it as a jumping point for next year when you're looking. So get it by pulling yourself together in a repository that's electronic that you can do searches for. You can put in some key words. Like, I love the whole category thing. You can also put topic, like, depending on, like, not just, okay, I'm doing quotes and I'm doing, inspiration and I'm doing this, but it could be a topic. Like, for me, maybe it's Instagram, maybe it's content ideas, maybe it's right. Like, it may be something specific to that. So now when I'm struggling for, oh my gosh, I got to do something on hashtags, right? I can look to see what I did, because everything changes too, right? Like, in the
That's true.
technology world, things
That's true.
change, new things
Um,
come up. But
Using a content calendar to organize your content is really helpful because that allows you to go back and look at what you did last year, right? Because that content then stays there, however it's organized. And then I'm not sure what Maggie uses, but like I know what I use, and we can go back and see if that's something that we want to do. Things that come up at the last minute, this is, something's come up like a topic, or maybe there's something happening in the world that pertains to my industry that I want to talk about right now. That is handled kind of sort of the way that I said, we kind of like, here's the idea. We actually use a tool called Monday. So a lot of those like immediate last minute ideas go in there. And then
I love Monday.com. I
I
just
know it's
gotta
good
tell
too.
you.
We
It
just started
and you
using it.
can you can change it, like, if you like the, look of Trello, I don't know what that kind of
It's a Kanban, I think it's
can
called.
and you
Yeah.
can convert it to like, you can do views.
I know. I
It's
actually
very
really
cool.
like what we're doing right now. So, like, I have a new virtual assistant who's been setting everything up. I had no idea
Oh,
how
it's
much
so cool.
better organized it is. But
It's so much fun.
and this brings up another
I'll
good
put the
point.
link in the chat for
Awesome.
people too.
Thanks. So, this brings up another good point when we're talking about content. Um, Not only are we looking for ideas, but you have probably a lot of content already. So I blog. Maggie occasionally blogs, I know. Not only do I blog on teresacifali.com, but we blog on the messydeskpodcast.com. So all of our podcast episodes have coordinating blog posts that go along with them. And what's fabulous about that is that I'm never lost for ideas just within my own content. So if you are blogging or if you write micro blogs, like say you use Instagram, for example, and you write really long post copy, those are good places to go back and look and repurpose phrases that you've mentioned or content that you said. So just from one blog post, for example, so like we script. So I'll give away that secret. We script with the Messy Desk podcast, but that becomes that podcast script becomes the podcast and it becomes um, a blog post and it becomes several social media posts. And sometimes we pull out small pieces of something small that we talked and touched on in one episode and we take it and we expand on it in another episode. So there's so many different ways. I mean, you can you could record yourself reading your blog post if you're really good at you practicing, just reading your content. And then you can cut that up into video snippets. So there's so many ways. It's just about making sure that you're keeping that organized. And another way to do that is to actually write down a procedure. This is what we do. So and that's how we work it with the podcast and also with my blog at teresacifali.com. There are all the little parts and pieces everywhere it gets shared. We're making Instagram stories, we're making Facebook posts, all the image sizes that we need, what are the image ideas that we have. So everything's getting then organized inside of Monday and create all the content's getting created by that checklist. And then that play gets repeated every single week for the content.
And I love, now look, Teresa's a productivity coach and she has been doing this for many, many years. So she's got this nailed down to a science, right? Look at that as your future. Like take little, take I don't want to say baby steps because that
It
sounds
is
it's
not really.
condescending, but you know,
Oh, I don't
take
think so.
those take the first step. Like
Right.
do the first thing. Like start with one thing. Don't start with that's, in Teresa's Daily Achievers, she talks about how you can take your main content and main um, goals and break them down into manageable chunks, right? So do that for yourself. Like, look, we're all about here at Master Media and also at Daily Achievers. We want to reduce your stress. Like stress, and
Mhm.
seriously, I
Right.
talk about this all the time. Look, I have health issues that get worse, no questions, whenever I'm under stress,
Right.
right? So if you want to this is like we're also helping you with your stress with this stuff, and I'm laughing because it sounds so silly, like, okay, I can't tell you, I start a strategy session with a client, and the beginning of the conversation, it's like, "Okay, so I got this and I got" the voice is cracking, I can feel the tension coming across the internet, right? By the end of the strategy session, it's like, "Okay, all right, that's great. Thanks so much." Yeah,
Yep.
and they're all relaxed. Why? Because they have transferred their stress to me and I'm taking it and I know how to deal with it because I do this all the time. Like, I'm stressful about other stuff, but when it comes to the social media, you have to give yourself a break, guys, because you can't think properly if you're stressed. You have to like kind of get in that happy place and relax. And
Right.
believe me, the social media ideas, they're there. You just like, I loved your idea, Teresa, about looking at other social media, like your competition, right? To look to see what questions are they answering. Go to their Google My Business page too and look at what people are saying in reviews. Like sometimes I get inspiration from what people leave in my reviews. We had somebody leave a review. They handle their own social. And they said, "Oh, I love Master It Monday because I always learn something new." And so a social media post was about, even if you manage your own social, Master It Media is here to help you with ideas on how to how to do, I can't remember what I said. I try to avoid the saying improve your social media, but get the most out of your social.
Right.
Um, because that's basically what you're doing. You're trying to reach those people and speaking their language. It is a lot of fun though. That's the thing. We all can't be experts in everything. When I needed somebody to help me with my productivity, I knew who to go to. I just go to Teresa. Why do I have to
Okay.
come up with a process? Because I don't know what I'm talking about. She's done this year after year after year. She's managed multiple businesses. She's helped how many people, I don't even know how many people she's helped through their, with their businesses to help them get organized. Because look, guys, we're handling our socials, we're handling our business, we're handling 150 other things that as business owners we have to handle. But getting a process in place is the best thing. I always recommend the book, The E-Myth Revisited. Love that book. And it talks about process. And it was one of the things that I implemented right away. And I've been working on it. Look, it doesn't happen overnight sometimes, it takes time. And it's developing those habits to do that. Same with what Teresa's talking about today. What I'd like to do, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. But I wanted to give Teresa a moment to share some of the exciting things she has going on in her business. Can
Uh,
you take a moment to
I
you know,
can, but I want to, before I do that, I just want to emphasize what Maggie was just talking about. As business owners, we're so busy trying to do all the things, and, focusing on the right things is often by starting by putting one foot in front of the other and not comparing your beginning to somebody else's middle, right? So you're right where you're supposed to be right now. So if you're feeling disorganized with your content, you can just take one step, and the first just do one thing, one of the steps that we talked about today, which is just spending some time thinking. That's the first thing that you can do. It'll help you get and feel like you have a little bit more control over what's happening. As far as what's going on with Theresa Cifali here, well, we recently wrapped up Plan to Achieve, which was my first group coaching program. I ran a beta of that in 2019, and then I launched that in May of this year. And the second iteration of the course, it's a group coaching program, actually, is relaunching this September. We're starting the week of the 23rd, I think it is, with what is called the Achieveathon, which is a 3-day training program. It's free, completely free. And if you're interested in that, that'd be awesome. You can just reach out to me at achiever@teresacifali.com. Let me know you're interested. I'll add you on to the wait list. And when the Achieveathon starts, it's basically 3 days of training, your mindset, and some strategy that you can use to get you moving in the direction that you want to go. That's probably the most exciting thing. Now, the Messy Desk podcast, my co-host Meghan Monaghan and I are taking the month of August off. We like to,
no!
we are. So
How
here it is,
dare
Max.
you?
How dare I know? I knew she was going to pop back in the minute I said that. So, look, Megan and I walk our talk. So, things are messy, and sometimes, and not just in business, but in life. And right now, and the seasons of life that we're in. We both have some personal things going on. So we opted just to take off a couple of days, so that we're going to get back into re-recording very shortly. And there's our August update right there. So we will be back literally on September 1st. This was not we're not coming back. We are definitely coming back. We are getting back in. We have 70 episodes that you can listen to, though, if you want to catch up. So if you've not listened to the Messy Desk podcast before, you can listen on the website at messydeskpodcast.com, or you can listen anywhere that you listen to podcasts. My two favorite places to listen are Apple and Spotify, but to each their own. We are also, I think, on Google and a few other directories also. But that's the two big things that are going on, and that's it.
Yeah. Oh, and I have to just share with you. So pop over to Theresa's website, teresacifali.com. You can find out, you can schedule a call with her. You can go through, and look at what she's got going on. And she's just so cool. Look at this, leather and all. Go through and find out how you can get on her wait list. The other is she has just started a new Instagram account. So I want you guys to take a moment to pop on over to daily.achievers on Instagram and show her some love, give her a follow, and make sure that we can help her grow her new account, because she has another one that she's fantastic on. This will just give you a little extra umph on that, and ask her questions. Like, I mean, DM her. This is where we look at social media and people are using it as a one-way street. This should not be a one-way street. It is a communication tool. It is called a social network for a reason, because it is meant to be social. That means I send information out. One of the things, like I was talking to another IT guru, and we were sharing how a lot of people schedule their posts and then they just leave. They just drop and go, like hit and run. They leave. They don't go. Well, the first hour that your social media post is live, like that's when all the engagement comes in. When somebody says something, you want to be there right there and say, "Yep, yes, do it." So,
Yep.
let's take advice from Theresa. Take that time that you need to think, to walk away for a moment, to process everything, do those brain dumps, gather that content, build out your repository, and research those topics so that you can be amazing on your social. I want to thank Theresa again for joining me today. I appreciate it so much. You have no idea. It's been a while since I had the thought, and then she was in the middle of her amazing launch, so it didn't happen. But highly recommend her Daily Achievers program if you are struggling with your productivity and getting your business and life, because it's not just about business, right, Theresa? It's
Right.
about making it all work together.
Right.
So
You're not
thank
just your work, and and you have to fit work into your life, not life into your work.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. And we appreciate you joining us on Master It Monday. Remember, we're here every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern to help you take the commotion out of your promotion. Have a great day, everyone.